Have you ever heard a weird bump in the night and just for a second wondered, what if? For centuries, we've been totally captivated by the idea of ghosts. So today, we're not just going to ask if they're real. We're going to dive into the science to find out what's really going on when we think we've seen a ghost. So let's kick things off with a story. The year is 1989. We're on the set of a Bollywood horror movie, and it's being filmed in a real-life palace. The star, Dimple Kapadia, wakes up in the middle of the night, and she sees a woman just sitting there, right on her bed. She actually says a few words to her, and then this chilling feeling just washes over her. She's convinced she's talking to a ghost. And here's the thing. That story is not unique at all. All over the world, millions and millions of people report these paranormal encounters. Everything from weird noises to seeing a full-on apparition. So what is really going on here? Are these people having genuine brushes with the supernatural, or is something else at play? Okay, let's get right into it. The first, and maybe the most simple explanation we have to talk about, is that sometimes, people are just faking it. And usually it's for fame, for attention, or just for cold, hard cash. A classic example of this? The famous Fox sisters back in the 1800s. These girls built an entire career claiming they could talk to the dead. The spooky banging sounds that people paid to hear, turns out it was just the sisters secretly hitting the walls with their feet. They preyed on grieving, emotional people who were just desperate to believe. And this went on for years until finally one of the sisters came clean and admitted the whole thing was a performance. And this isn't just something from the history books. Think about the Amityville Horror. The story is legendary, right? A house so haunted the family had to flee in the middle of the night. But when you dig a little deeper, the real motivations get a lot clearer. The original killer claimed he heard ghostly voices, hoping it would get him a lighter sentence. And the family that moved in later? Well, they saw a golden opportunity for some very lucrative book and movie deals. It just goes to show you how powerful the incentive for a good ghost story can be. But it's not always a deliberate lie. In fact, some of the most convincing ghost stories aren't hoaxes at all. Sometimes the haunting isn't coming from outside, it's coming from right inside our own powerful and sometimes very tricky minds. You know how horror movies love to slap that "inspired by true events" label on the poster just for that extra little bit of fear? Well, that word "inspired" is often doing some really heavy lifting. Take the film Veronica. The movie shows this terrifying demonic possession, but the real events it's based on, they most likely point to a really tragic case of a young girl suffering from an undiagnosed psychotic disorder. So right about now, you're probably asking, okay, but what if an entire family sees the exact same thing? Well, psychology actually has a term for this. It's called mass psychogenic illness, or a shared psychotic disorder. It's this wild phenomenon where a really strong delusion held by one person can basically become contagious, spreading to other people in a close, trusted group, like a family. And this is not just some textbook theory. It is absolutely tragic real-world consequences. We saw it in the Burari case in Delhi, where 11 family members died by suicide, all under a shared delusion. And in another case in Australia, a family of 5 just up and fled their lives, completely gripped by a shared paranoia. This happens because of these incredibly powerful psychological forces, like our deep-seated trust in our family. It really shows how infectious a belief can be, and it's not a huge leap to see how a less extreme version could lead a whole family to believe their house is haunted. Now, this idea that our own minds can create a reality that feels totally external, it brings us to one of the most famous tools of the paranormal, the Ouija board. It feels like this direct line to the spirit world, but the secret to its power isn't a ghost. It's a direct result of the psychology we've been talking about. The secret is this fascinating process called the ideomotor effect. All it means is that your brain is sending these tiny, involuntary signals to your muscles, causing movements that you don't even realize you're making. So when you think that pointer is moving all by itself, it's actually your own subconscious expectations that are guiding it. And the coolest part is, you can actually test this for yourself right now. Go grab a ring or a key, tie it to a string, and just hold it perfectly still. Now, without trying to move your hand at all, just think about it moving in a circle. Just visualize it, and you'll watch. It'll start to move, all thanks to those unconscious muscle movements from your brain. So, of course, scientists decided to put this to the test. They figured if a spirit is really moving the pointer, a blindfold shouldn't make any difference, right? But what the experiments show is that as soon as you blindfold the participants, the spirits completely forget how to spell. The pointer starts moving to random letters or even right off the board, which proves it was the users, not a ghost, moving it the whole time. All right, so we've covered deliberate hoaxes and the tricks our minds can play. But what about all that high-tech gear we see on the ghost hunting shows? You know, the flashing lights, the crackling audio. Surely that's scientific proof, isn't it? Well, let's take a closer look. Let's start with their number one tool, the infrared camera. It basically sees heat instead of light. The problem is, it is incredibly easy to fool. For example, if you get up from a chair, the heat your body leaves behind, it can look just like a ghostly figure sitting there. Or if you walk out of the shower with wet feet, your footprints show up on camera as these mysterious cold spots. Okay, next up is the EMF meter. Now, the theory goes that spirits give off these electromagnetic fields, and this little device can pick them up. It sounds kind of plausible, right? Until you realize what else gives off those exact same fields. The big problem is we are literally surrounded by things that set these meters off. Your cell phone, the TV crew's radios, the battery pack on the camera they're holding, even a computer mouse. In our modern world, an EMF meter is way more likely to be picking up the ghost in the machine than a spirit from another dimension. So, here's the crucial point. After looking at the hoaxes, the psychology, and the technology that gets it wrong, where do we actually draw the line between a good story and a belief that might be harmful? Let's circle all the way back to our opening story. Remember Dimple Kapadia? Well, when she told someone about her ghostly visitor, the explanation she got was super simple and logical. She had been playing a ghost all day long, totally immersing herself in that role. Her mind was so saturated with the idea that it just played a trick on her when she woke up. And that really gets to the heart of the whole thing. Look, there is absolutely nothing wrong with loving horror movies or telling spooky stories around a campfire. It's fun, it's a thrill, but it becomes a real problem when that entertainment gets presented as if it's reality, fooling people and promoting superstition as if it's fact. So the real question isn't so much, do you believe in ghosts? It's, where do we draw the line? And maybe more importantly, what is the real cost when we start to blur that line between a harmless story and a truly dangerous delusion?